Hey YouTube, it's me Popcorn here. So whether you came here from the first video that I put the link on or you just found this browsing, but I thought I'd make a more refined version of my first video of how to install Cinematic Mod 2013. The first video I made sucked, I'll admit that, so I'm hoping to hopefully better demonstrate how to install it this time. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. I will have the links in the description, and they'll all be listed through the steps. So step number one, the first link you're going to go to is obviously the website here. Cinematic Mod, right? Blah blah blah. You want to make sure it's 2013. Forget all these. Go down all the way to the bottom here, and then I would really advise not getting it through HTTP download, like through the Chrome browser, because that's just going to be painfully slow. But as of the time of filming, this torrent does work and it's most up to date. So go ahead and click that, and whether you use BitTorrent or uTorrent, it doesn't really matter. But I happen to use uTorrent, and just for the purposes of this video, I'm actually downloading a copy right now. So, I mean, I already have the mod installed and whatnot, so I'm just gonna be going over this again, but that doesn't really matter. But so it's about it's 25% now. It's 16 megabytes a second. That's not too bad. It is a rather big game, so you know, depending on your internet speed, it may or may not be up to par with mine, you know. But either way, at the time of filming, you should see 10 parts. I don't see any reason why it would change, but for now, I'm just gonna wait till this is over, and then I can show you properly from there the rest of the video. So I'm just gonna pause it for now, and I'll resume when it gets to finished. See you in a minute. Alright guys, I'm back. The torrent is done, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop that. I'm going to open containing folder, and here's what you're going to see. Part 1 to Part 10. I use WinRAR for this. I don't know about WinZip or any other program. I'm just using this, so I would recommend doing the same. But, okay, so there's 10 parts. If you go into one, it's not really going to show you much. It's just, you're just going to see this, but you don't want to do that. Every one of these files has the exact same copy, but it's all, you need to extract them all to combine them into one file. So I have enough room on my SSD. What I'm going to recommend is create a folder on your desktop. If you don't have enough space on your C drive, which is what your desktop is, then you can make this folder on your secondary drive or whatever it may be. But I'm just going to name this temp Cinematic, and the purpose of this file is you're going to select all of these like this, right click, extract files, and then desktop, temp cinematic, hit OK. Now all of these files are going to extract into one main big file in here, CM 2013 final. This is a very large file. It's about 17 gigs. So, you know, if you look here, it's coming off my hard drive and going onto my SSD. My hard drive is the bottleneck at this point at about 100 megabytes a second, so this is going to take a little while. Oops. I'm assuming yours is going to be roughly the same. So again, I'm going to cut the video off here and I'll be back as soon as this is done. Alright guys, so it's done. All the files have been extracted into this folder that we've temporarily created on our desktop. Again, like I said, you could have created the folder on a second hard drive, doesn't matter, but either way. So before I address any issues or questions here, go into that file, go into Files, and then number 1, go into DirectX Update. You're going to see all these RAR files. scroll down to about here where you see DirectX Setup Application. Double click that, hit yes, I accept, blah blah blah, install all these. These are, you probably already have them installed, but just in case you don't, these are all here, because if you don't have all the DirectX updates and whatnot installed, the game won't run. So it's just better to double check it and run DirectX Setup. And then after that, forget about support, but go into Visual C runtimes. All three of these, I'm not exactly sure if you have to, but again, like I've said, I've always done it myself and it's always worked. So for each one of these, install one after the other until you're at x86, and that's done. One of them is German, but I'm sure you can manage your way through. I did. So once that's done, go back into here, go to the CM installer, yes, next, I agree, sure, okay. In my last video, this is the biggest thing I got questioned about. It says, warning, you must install to the correct common folder. Now, a quick explanation here. Because I have an SSD, 256 gigabytes, which is not that big for my C drive, my operating system drive, if I were to install this game to it, which is 47.5 gigs, I wouldn't have that much space left. I'd have about 30 gigs, and I don't really want that. I have 80 as it is. So what this is asking here, by the correct common folder, you probably having a normal hard drive for your operating system disk, you would go to local disk C, program files, x86, or whatever, Steam, Steam apps, common. This is the common folder it's talking about right here, common. Now in my case, because I do have an SSD, I want to install it to my hard drive array. So mirror, Steam library, Steam apps, again, common folder right there. This is what it's asking for. It's not asking for the game folder yet or anything like that. So if I go in here, like I said it earlier in the video, I already have it installed. This is how it should look when you're done. So in terms of view, if you want to install it to your C drive, just leave this path as it is. If you do want to change it over to your mirror array like me, if you do have an SSD, go ahead and click change, mirror, Steam library, again, wherever it is installed. You just got to make sure you find this common folder wherever you want the game installed. Click the common folder, hit OK. Your path should look something like that. Once you figured out what you want to do, go ahead and hit next. Make sure that Steam isn't running. I've managed to install it with Steam running many times, but you know, just for the purposes of having it work properly, just go ahead and quit Steam, and then go ahead and click next. Now, this is going to pop up. Don't worry, this is normal. Basically, what it's doing right now is this big file.pack, whatever the hell that is, this is the entire game in this file, and what this is doing is extracting all of these from this file to wherever the common folder is that you just selected. So CM 2013, it's extracting all those files into here. Now, yes, I have an SSD, but I'm installing it to my hard drive from my hard drive, which is probably your situation as well, and it's going to be incredibly slow. It's a 50 gig game almost, so don't worry, it is going to take a while. It's not just you, it's everybody. But go ahead and pause the video now or whatever, because I'm going to wait for this to finish, and when it is finished, I'll see you when it is done. So yes, I'll be back in a moment. Alright guys, so we're back. It is finished. That command window thing that you've seen there, it went through all its stuff. Now it's going to pop up showing this. Now what this is asking, the installer, that's some nice English, Installer has to copy some files from your official Half-Life 2 folder. Now, don't ask me if this works with torrented versions of Half-Life 2, because I have no idea. Probably not, so we're going off the assumption that you own Half-Life 2 and Episode 1 and Episode 2. I don't think you need Episode 1 and Episode 2 for this to work, but it affects all 3 games if you do have them. So, what this is asking here, example, blah blah blah. Now, in my case, like I said, I have none installed on my SSD, so in my drive array, and I say array because it's more than one drive, inside this common folder is where my Half-Life 2 is installed. Now, Half-Life 2 folder contains Episode 2 and Episode 1. That's the quote-unquote Steam pipe version that they've come out with. Instead of having 3 separate folders for 3 separate games, they just combined it all into this one. So, what the installer here is asking you to do is the default path here is assuming that Half-Life 2 is installed on your C drive. If yours is, leave the path the way it is and hit next. In my case, it isn't, so I gotta go to Mirror, Steam Library, Steam Apps, Common. You gotta go inside the Common folder this time. This is asking for the game file itself, Half-Life 2. Click Half-Life 2, hit OK. Now, depending on what your path and Steam Library looks like, this is what mine looks like. Yours should look something similar to this. It's asking for the Half-Life 2 folder, so just remember that. Go ahead and hit next. It's going to search for VPK files inside the Half-Life 2 folder or whatever. Go ahead and hit next. I guess it did that automatically because, like I said, mine's already installed. Yours might take a couple seconds, I don't know. Actually, I totally forgot about that. Sorry, guys. This Microsoft C runtime and DirectX runtime library, we already went over that in this. DirectX and Visual C runtimes, we already did that. I guess if you forgot to do that, it'll do it automatically for you, but just so you don't have to go over it, uncheck those, go ahead and hit next. Installation successful, there you go, finish. Now, CM 2013 is going to be installed here, or sorry, wherever you installed it. Now, Character Pimper. Alright, so before you go ahead and actually run the game, Configurator. First off, I would recommend selecting all 3 of these. Create shortcut, and oh, sorry, no, shortcut. Drag the shortcuts on your desktop. Now, Episode 0, that's going to be Half-Life 2, the first game. Episode 1, Episode 2. These are what the launchers are for. You can go ahead and relaunch Steam at this point, sorry. One second here. There. Alright, so you can go ahead, yeah, you can launch Steam again. What you're not going to do is you're not going to run the mod from your library. You're not going to run it from Steam. This is what these launchers are for. If you want to play Half-Life 2, you double-click Episode 0 and it will launch it. But before we do that, go into the configurator. Yes. Alright, this is the actual configurator for the mod/game or whatever. Enable enhanced bloom effects. This is going to be like, well, it's going to look bloomy. I'm not a huge fan of them, so I put them on moderate. Anamorphic lens flares. I'm actually not 100% sure of everything here and what it does, but I think keep lens flares on. Sun rays and God rays, well, that's pretty self-explanatory. It's strong as fuck, because, you know, I got a 970 and it can do it. HEV suit glass visor reflections. I'm assuming that's like with something to do with the helmet. I'm not, don't quote me on that, I have no idea. This, I don't like, it looks, no idea. SweetFX post-processing. I use SMAA boost detail. Now, if you were to go into Half-Life and you go to the options menu and advanced video settings, you would normally set it to MSAA. Well, this will deactivate in-game anti-aliasing settings. This is a complete fuck. I'm at a loss for words. It deactivates it. It overdoes it. E&B fantasy post-processing. No, I don't like that. Don't even know what it does. I'm sure you guys could figure this all out, but I like depth of field with autofocus. I add those usually. Again, not exactly sure what they do. NVIDIA GPUs only. I'm not, again, sure exactly what this does, but it must be good, and I have an NVIDIA graphics card, so I'm going to turn it on. Enable cinematic mod music. No, I don't like that. I like the original Half-Life 2 soundtrack. Cinematic mod weapons. That's a personal preference. Activate player head bob mover. So as you're running or walking, it'll kind of bob side to side. I kind of like it. Weapons recoil. Sure. Co-sequence at nighttime. Fuck yeah. Turn that on. That is awesome. Use cinematic mod difficulty settings. Again, personal preference. I don't like it very much. Now the engine settings. Activate large VRAM mode. This is for graphics cards with more than 3 gigabytes of video RAM. Yeah, I usually turn it on. It improves performance. Force preload of NPC resources. This forces preload of NPC resources, textures, and models into memory on map load. It can prevent stuttering, but will increase your graphics card memory usage and loading times. I don't really get stuttering with it, so I keep both of these off. But do turn on enhanced particle effects. That's good. So once you've put this to what you want, hit OK. You're going to see that. It's going to copy some files. That's all there is to it. Go back over here, Character Pimper, run the application, yes. Alright, now, this is where you actually select models. So, what this means, so Half-Life 2 Intro, Eli's Lab, Nova Prospect, etc. These are all points in the game. You can select different models for different points in the game. You can go ahead and change that. Main characters. There's HD models for Barney, Eli, G-Man, etc. Civilian, HD models for civilians, and the same goes for Combine. If you want to install, so for Combine, HD models, go ahead and click it. Install, yes. Just going to do that. There. Once you've done that and customize it the way you want it, just go ahead and close it. Now, actually, we're done. That's it. You can go ahead and launch whichever Half-Life you want to play. Just to show you this works, I'll do it myself. There we go. Now it's gonna look like this in the background. That's my resolution. The filtering mode, the anti-aliasing here, MSAA. Like we did in the configurator, this is completely disabled, so that's not going to do anything. Filtering mode, I max everything out because I have enough graphical horsepower to. And that should be it. Apply. Okay, new game. There you go. That should be it. You can hear the different menu sounds too. That's it, guys. I really hope that worked for you because this was as much in depth as I could go with it. If you have any kind of problems, just try to be as clear as you can about it in the comments so I understand what you're saying, not sounding like a 10-year-old. Please, I beg. And if I can somehow help with the problem, I will definitely try. I will reply. So, if this did work and this helped you, subscribe, thumbs up, comment, let me know how it worked for you, and if you want me to do any kind of other tutorials, do suggest that as well. because I feel like that's something I may be good at. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video, and good day.